is it the midfield that you look at from an Arsenal perspective, and that's where we have to try and win the game against this Newcastle team, because their midfield is it seems to be the biggest element of why Newcastle are doing so well. I know the defence have been extraordinary, but the midfield, there's just so many different elements and it just seems to work.
Yeah, it does. Look, I think the biggest compliment you can give Eddie Howe is that, everyone talks about the money associated with Newcastle and the signings they make, but it's players like Longstaff, it's players like Joe Linton, Almiron, existing players that were there when he came that have just absolutely gone to a new level since Eddie Howe's come in, and that is a testament to his man management and his coaching. The smart signings that you've made as well. On top of that, combined, the midfield, you see Joe Willock, you see Guimaraes and Longstaff as a three, but you can use other options there if you want to. Joe Linton can drop in. It's incredibly. It's in a way quite envious from a lot of clubs' perspectives, and even from an Arsenal perspective, with someone like Guimaraes, who, as you say, Arsenal were very interested and had followed him since his time in Brazil, and just for some reason didn't want to pull the trigger during that January window. I know that Newcastle were paying him a lot of money, of course, and Arsenal have been very touch and go about paying players certain levels of wages, but it seems like he would have been the perfect player to use that, to take over from Granit Xhaka, basically, and upgrade that position for the future. And I said this on a show the other day that I was doing, that if Guimaraes was in the Arsenal midfield with Partey or Jorginho and Odegaard, that midfield three, you look at and go, well, that's title-winning levels of quality. So, and that's not to discredit what Xhaka has done. He's been very good, but just that level above, I look at Guimaraes for the future, and his vision, his passing, his execution of what he wants to do is so up there with the top central midfielders in the league. So midfield's going to be key. I've said, though, a number of times, the way that Newcastle operate with their defensive stability and the security that it brings, it's going to be on the forwards for Arsenal to, when they get the few opportunities during the game, to take them. If Arsenal are clinical, is the word. If Arsenal are clinical, that's the only way they're going to win this game, because I don't expect them to get the level of chances and the frequency of chances that we've seen them and get in recent fixtures. And players like Gabriel Jesus, Martinelli, Saka have missed big opportunities in games this season where they could have potentially put games away from sides that have then come back. Think about Liverpool. We had other opportunities in that game against West Ham. We could have scored the penalty to make it 3-1 in that game and probably go on to win that relatively comfortably, and we didn't. So I think it's going to be in the two defensive thirds, which is a cliche in football where it's won, but it will be. If Isak takes his chances, if Arsenal defend well, if Arsenal can take their chances, that's where it's going to be. I think we often talk about the midfield battle being where games are won and lost, but actually I think both teams have got such good midfields that it will be down to who takes the opportunities on the day. And again, that's why I think Arsenal go into this game with a relative amount of trepidation, because Newcastle's goal scoring record is very good recently. Arsenal's defensive record is not so good recently, and I think that could be the difference maker on Sunday.
4:30. What do you think, Tom? What's your prediction going into the game?
I'm really worried. My head says that I think Newcastle will probably win again 2-0. My heart's saying 2-1 Arsenal, just because I'm forever the optimist in this world of sport and Arsenal. But I just think Newcastle are so good. I think St James's Park is such a difficult place to go to, probably behind the Etihad and Anfield only now, in terms of a place to go. So, yeah, I'll stick with my heart always and go 2-1 Arsenal. But look, you've got a very, very, very good chance of winning. And I'm not surprised that you are down as a lot of bookies' favourites for the game.
Well, like I say, it still surprises me, considering I feel like I'm pinching myself every time I see the Premier League table, and we're still third in the table. So I'm still dreaming and in dreamland in general. But I think, like you say, Tom, I think it'll be a very, very close game, regardless of how the result goes. My prediction is 2-1 Newcastle. I think it'll be extremely tight, but I do think Alexander Isak will have an instrumental impact on this game. And I think if he does get the better of that Arsenal defence, I think he either gets a assist or a goal. And I think that's how well he's been playing. And, Spurs spent £60 million on Richarlison. We spent the same on Isak. And it's just about spending your money wisely. That's how important he could be to Newcastle this season, with maybe playing Champions League football next season. So it's going to be incredibly interesting to see what happens on Sunday.